Oh, welcome, Shanti. Good evening. Hope everyone is doing well.
Yes, thank you, Sarvan.
So the topic we have chosen for today is overcoming loneliness. Loneliness. It's an interesting topic. I was just thinking about, which topic to choose for this Thursday. This month's theme actually of meditation is to be in a combined state, which means the soul and God combined. So we never feel separated, that I am away from God. But then the thought was like one of the ways in which we can feel separated and feel, lonely. Is really this whole thing about loneliness and how to identify it, and then how to get over it. So yeah, that was a thought today. I think loneliness is something that maybe we have all experienced at one or the other point in our life. If we were to define loneliness, how would we define it?
Being by yourself a lot.
Right. Being by yourself, right.
Isolation, sort of depression, and feeling alone.
Depression, feeling alone. Yes. What would you like water?
Oh, just feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, feeling, and sometimes loneliness can even lead to depression. That's right. Yes. How else we would like to define loneliness?
It's a state of, you're not able to inhabit your own self.
Yeah.
Can't be with your own self.
Right.
I think that's
right. Not being comfortable in the company of the self, right? Yeah, good. Right. Yeah. So it's like a lack of a sense of belonging, lack of a sense of connectedness with, it could be with, people outside, but even not feeling connected with the life. Could be lack of a sense of purpose of life sometimes. And then it really, traps the mind. It doesn't allow the mind to just be at ease and at comfort. And then it just kind of blocks the natural flow of energy, isn't it? Yeah, loneliness. If we were to understand in another way, it's like, we often, go out in nature, or we often, look at external things. And the reason we look out is so that we feel good inside. It's like, I go out for a walk, or I talk to someone, I meet my friends, I do all of that so that I feel comfortable inside. But if it is like, uh, if that external kind of stimulus is not there, and if I were to generate that feeling of comfort and happiness and, just belonging from within, and if I'm not able to do that, if I'm just, kind of my mind is always focused on some external dependency, then that's somewhere I feel like, lonely. Like you said, like then I wouldn't want to be by myself. Like I wouldn't like that. Right.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So it's like there are two words, right? One they say is alone, and the other is lonely. Right. And if we see like in
yeah, just in case, I guess. Yeah.
in meditation, it is actually important to be alone, right? I mean, it's important to just enough allow everything else to fade away so that just I am there by myself. So being alone is a different feeling than being lonely. So somewhere that's why it's like one word is loneliness, the other word is solitude. Solitude is a good kind of because all our discoveries happen in solitude, right? Solitude, like in solitude, I can experience the depths of meditation. That's what we are trying to do. So in a way, actually, loneliness and solitude are, kind of the two sides of, the same coin. Um, so let us maybe look into a little bit more. It says loneliness is not lack of company. Loneliness is lack of purpose. Not only lack of company, but also lack of purpose. If I'm not clear, what is it that the purpose of my life is really? More often than not, feel lonely. Mhm. The Hindi word for loneliness is akelapan, and the Hindi word for solitude is ekant. Mhm. So to be in ekant is like to be just lost in the one is actually good. That's the aim of meditation. But on the other hand, akelapan is not feeling a sense of belonging or purpose or company. That is the other end of it. It's like that's where the illusion, Maya, will take away the soul from the company of truth away, so that the soul feels lonely, and then Maya will attack. It's like, and then the thoughts will come. Mhm. So, how do I know that there is loneliness? There are some signs of deep loneliness. What are the signs? So there are few that, it says this particular article, it says first, oversharing when there is someone to listen. It's very interesting because there's someone to listen, so I just keep on sharing. Second, feeling like the disposable person in a group. So not useful, it's like disposable, right? Third, putting people's needs before your own. So one is to really, from the perspective of service, but the other is like often just, basing my feelings on the other, other people, right? So I'm constantly thinking, what does the other person needs, not that what is good for me, Um, Fourth, feeling the need to be overly helpful or nice. So, so when I feel like I have to be very, very nice, it means somewhere there is loneliness with it. Feeling isolated and like no one really sees you. Mhm. Mhm. Sixth, feeling like you don't belong anywhere. Mhm. Seventh, becoming obsessive with friendships. So if I have, it's like friendship also, and because I'll create that kind of sense of dependence. So feeling of obsession in friendships. So these are a few. It's quite interesting. Even when I read this, I found it online somewhere. But when I read this, it made some a lot of sense, right? Because I couldn't have thought of these things myself, but they're really nice, right? Mhm. So uh, it's like few years back when COVID hit, we were all kind of forced to be lonely, right? In a way, we were all, in our own little homes. And that's when, like, there is a lot of research that happened on loneliness, and they said loneliness is like an epidemic. It's like it's so prevalent everywhere. It's like an epidemic, and we should really do something about it. So I'll just share a little clip that describes how loneliness is an epidemic these days.
Walking clubs are taking off, and it's not just the exercise.
You're connecting with someone, which is something that I was kind of missing.
More and more people are missing that connection and are feeling lonely.
The pandemic poured fuel on a fire that was already burning.
Dr. Vivek Murthy, the U.S. Surgeon General, says loneliness is an epidemic, the focus of an 80-page advisory he is releasing today.
We're used to thinking about smoking and obesity as clear public health concerns.
So you're saying loneliness is comparable to smoking in terms of the detriment to your health?
Yeah, in terms of the risk that it poses for premature death, yes.
Half of U.S. adults experience measurable loneliness, and it's greater among young adults.
When you struggle with loneliness, when you're socially disconnected, it increases your risk of depression and anxiety and suicide, but it also increases your risk of physical illness as well.
Loneliness increases the risk for heart disease, stroke, and among older adults, dementia. The cure, Dr. Murthy says, is not only personal change, but societal change as well.
What we need to do is actually rebuild social infrastructure in our country.
You're talking about changing the social fabric. That's been decades in the making.
It's been decades in the making, but it's also something that I'm confident that we can address if we put our mind to it and if we act together.
Among his recommendations, a focus on community organizations, mobilizing the health sector to raise awareness, and reconsidering how we use technology.
In-person matters. Connecting online has its place, has its value, but it's not a substitute for in-person connection. We really do need both.
Cultivating and supporting time together, face to face, because our health depends on it. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
The bogus,
Right.
it was wrong.
Yeah. Right.
And loneliness causes schizophrenia a lot.
Schizophrenia.
Yeah. They end up talking to themselves because they're so,
That's right. Yes. Right. So there is this nice little quote by Rumi, and it says,
there's always a constant push
mm,
for technology to take over, AI to take over. It's
correct.
like,
That's true. Yes.
and so it's every time a kid's born or raised into that, I believe that doctor's right. He's totally right. But
Mm,
there's a big push. It's the opposite of what he just said, though.
right. The push is towards the other
You got
extreme.
technology taking over.
Yeah.
Everything's designed to make you stupid. Like you don't have to do 3 clicks if you hit this. You only have to hit 1 button.
Yeah.
So it's like 1 versus 3.
True.
That's
True.
like
Yes.
there's no calories burned
Yeah.
to go from 3 to 1. Just
Correct.
it's making us lazy.
True.
We don't think for ourselves.
True.
So I'm just saying the atmosphere.
It's
gives
there.
us-
The energy is there in the atmosphere. Right. Nice. So this quote says, "Don't feel lonely. The entire universe is inside you." So when we realize that we're not just these bodies, we're not just these roles, we're not just this temporary, transient character, but when we realize we're eternal beings, we are souls, we are eternal travelers, then we realize that actually the world inside is like this whole universe. So I'm not lonely. Right? How can I be alone? Right? So when I think in that way, that the whole universe, so one universe is like outside, but then the whole universe actually is inside of me. And so that's where like we hear the word sometimes, it's like spinning the discus of self-realization. The Hindi word sometimes is Sudarshan Chakradhari, which means I think about the soul, I create thoughts about the soul, about my existence as a soul, not just as this temporary name and character. But the more I consciously create time to think about myself as a spiritual being, I then stop feeling lonely. Because the soul is automatically connected with the universe. says you cannot be lonely if you like the person you are alone with. So if I like my own company, then how can I be lonely? Right? I remember I was talking to someone and a long time back, and we're just sharing some, experiences from the COVID, and they said I started enjoying my own company. It was really nice, because sometimes we want to have, someone's company to really feel good and enjoy the moment. But when we start to enjoy our own company, right, and we're comfortable, we don't need anything external. You just, relax and just be natural, very comfortable in nice, company. And that's what meditation really is, all about, right? Says, you'll never spend a day alone. Find love within yourself and you'll never have a lonely day. So when you truly develop self-love, right? So then it's like enjoying the company of the self. Right? So never have a lonely day. Says, if you serve people who need help, you will not feel alone. If you sit alone and think that others should come and serve you, then you will feel alone. That is very true. If there is a sense of, I should do some seva, some service, then I will not feel alone. But if I feel that others should come and then they should serve me or, in whatever way, then there will be more chance of feeling alone. Interesting. It says solitude is the soul's holiday, an opportunity to stop doing for others and to surprise and delight ourselves instead. So the other spectrum of loneliness is solitude. So it's like a vacation for the soul. It's like the soul's holiday. So I'm just shutting off the mind from everything external and then allowing the inner self to emerge. So it's opportunity to stop thinking about everything else, everyone else, but just to take this time to just serve the self, surprise the self. There is a little research in psychology about loneliness and the difference it has with solitude and how it impacts the brain. Loneliness versus solitude. So we'll watch that little bit.
To be this lonely, what's the point of it all? This quote by Haruki Murakami always makes me feel so sad, and yet so bonded to the rest of humanity in this yearning, this craving for connection. Loneliness is such a common but uncomfortable human emotion. It's the subjective experience in which being alone produces a feeling of desolation, and the experience really hurts. We are social animals, and we need to feel like we belong. Researchers have found that pain from loneliness and social rejection activates the same parts of the brain as physical pain. And you can even see this in our language. When we describe experiences of social pain, like social rejection, we often use expressions that describe physical sensations, like having a broken heart or feeling physically cut off from the world. In fact, this pattern is not unique to the English language and has been shown to exist across many different languages. So loneliness is not just in our head, it physically hurts. When it's fleeting, it's perfectly fine to feel lonely from time to time. Just like in the physical realm, you can sometimes get a little cut on your finger, and that's not the end of the world. And loneliness can actually be a way to process some feelings, to find your footing in the distance you notice with some people in your life, which can be difficult, but necessary. But when loneliness becomes a constant feeling, it can actually be harmful to your health. In fact, a review of the research literature suggests that loneliness increases the risk of mortality by 26%. And it's becoming a big problem. The rates of loneliness have doubled in the United States in the last 50 years only. You've probably heard scientists speak of the loneliness epidemic. And yet, being alone can sometimes feel pleasurable. A good book, some quiet time to yourself, just you and your thoughts, away from the hustle and bustle of daily work and social obligations. Why is it that being alone can lead to such dramatically different experiences? That's because being alone can result in either loneliness or solitude. And these two responses, while they share their basis in the same fundamental experience, have a completely different impact on your brain and, as a result, on your mental state. When you experience loneliness, the anterior cingulate cortex becomes more active. This region is associated with registering pain, and its activation when you feel lonely mirrors the patterns that we see during physical pain, which shows the profound emotional impact of feeling socially isolated. On the other hand, when you experience solitude, the default mode network becomes more active. This network is involved in mind wandering, introspection, and self-awareness, which allows for more creativity and which highlights the nurturing, restorative benefits of solitude. So solitude is just a state of being alone. It doesn't have any negative feelings attached to it. It can be neutral, but it can also be enjoyable. In contrast, loneliness is a sense of unwanted isolation, which triggers actual pain. What's interesting is that the sense of unwanted isolation that defines loneliness can persist even when you are with other people. That's why knowing more people will not alleviate your feelings of loneliness. It has actually become a common trope, but a true one, to say that we're more connected but also lonelier than ever. So the difference between loneliness and solitude is not really about whether you're physically surrounded with people. It's how you perceive not being actively connecting with other people that makes all the difference in whether you will experience it as loneliness or as solitude. When you focus on the feeling of isolation from others and the world, then you fall into a spiral of negative thoughts. You experience loneliness. But when you appreciate it as a generative moment of self-discovery and reconnection with yourself, being alone can yield powerful insights and even support your mental health. In fact, research shows that solitude has lots of benefits. Solitude can lead to more meaningful relationships. I know it may sound paradoxical, but studies suggest that being able to feel comfortable on your own helps you become more comfortable when around others. Solitude also leads to better resilience. Studies show that your ability to tolerate alone time is linked to increased happiness, better stress management, and improved life satisfaction. Basically, learning how to enjoy spending time alone makes you happier and less anxious. Solitude can increase your creativity. Being in a private, secluded space allows you to be more creative. That's why artists, authors, and musicians seek solitude when they want to generate ideas and focus on their creative work. Solitude is also excellent for self-discovery. Researchers found that by spending time alone and taking a moment for self-reflection, to think about your dreams and your worries and your relationships, you can create space to define and confirm your identity with less influence from other people. And finally, solitude can increase your productivity. Studies show that spending time alone makes you more productive. It probably already intuitively makes sense to you, but many people work better when they are on their own compared to when working in a busy and noisy office. But of course, to be productive, they need to enjoy the solitude instead of suffering from the loneliness of not being surrounded with colleagues. In the end, it all boils down to being intentional in the way we approach our relationship to being alone. Loneliness is time alone that we didn't choose and therefore we don't appreciate. Solitude can be a mindful activity if you decide to dedicate time to it and approach it in a constructive manner. And if you find yourself in a moment of loneliness, you can proactively decide to transmute it into a moment of solitude. Put your phone away and immerse yourself in the present moment. Whether you tune into the emotion of isolation to try and understand it better, or maybe you try to actively think about interesting questions, or you could just let your mind wander. Being alone is also a great opportunity to read a book, to meditate, to go for a walk, to journal, or to learn a new skill. Dance in front of the mirror, play an instrument, or just take a nap. If you're not used to embracing solitude, this can feel uncomfortable at first. But learning to be alone with yourself can be one of the most powerful skills to unlock better creativity, better productivity, and better mental health. So, what's your relationship with being alone with yourself? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video and want to learn more about how to make the most of your mind, make sure to like and subscribe.
Really like the way that we described about the brain. It's actually loneliness activates the same parts of the brain when we are in actual physical pain. And then solitude actually activates those parts of the brain that, are more creative. It's creativity. And so whenever I feel lonely, I always have the option to shift that energy from loneliness to solitude. And I feel this is the me time that, I can really go within and discover myself. So it's actually whenever, I tend to feel lonely, I could just shift, in a very simple way, and then I could, operate from the space of solitude. And that's the difference between solitude and loneliness. Right? Solitude says I feel calm and at peace when I'm alone. I like to be alone. Versus loneliness, I feel lonely with the person that I'm alone with. I don't like to be alone. Right? Yeah. So if we really see, that's the real difference between soul consciousness and role consciousness. So when I'm lonely, then I'm actually just thinking about the role and what happened right or wrong or whatever in the role space. And that's why I don't like to be alone, because I can't change the way people are or the way things are or the way my past has been. I can't change it. But the more soul conscious I am, the more I actually like to spend time with me, because then I realize when I connect with the self, the truth, I begin to feel the inner peace, contentment. That is the natural nature of the soul. Another way to describe just this two states of mind. Alone feels connected to others. Lonely feels empty and disconnected. Alone, content with solitude, longs for company, feelings of happiness and stability, feelings of sadness or depression. Right. So again, I can easily just make a shift from being lonely to being alone. Right. So if we see that as a soul, am I, so we say, right, that I came alone, isn't it? I, the soul, I came alone. And when I leave this body, I will go alone also. No one, actually, I can't take anything or anyone with me anyways. So the journey of the soul is actually individual, but there is only one that always stays for the soul. There is only one with whom the soul can feel that eternal companionship. And who is that one?
Divine power.
Yeah, that one is God, right? So when I realized that actually on this eternal journey, I'm not alone, but from the space of the soul, I always have my companion. That is the divine God, higher power, source, whatever we call, name it. So that's the true companion, the only one who is mine. Mhm. And it's very, it's a very real relationship if we think about it, that when we really from our heart, you know, call out to the divine, then the divine responds immediately. Mhm. And the divine listens to everything that is happening, or whatever I am, experiencing. The divine knows, because the divine is the constant companion of the soul. No one else actually has the capacity to be a constant companion, because every human soul is limited, because they have come and they are playing their role. So there is no other soul that has this capacity. There is only the one, the divine. And then when through meditation, I begin to feel connected with the divine, then it's like, then these moments in solitude will be very, very precious, because in those moments, I can experience the presence of the divine. Mhm. Because that's where I've disconnected from everything else. And then I allow the presence of the divine to influence me. Mhm. It says meditation is trading your limited ego for God's unlimited love. Right? Mhm. It's like whenever I feel lonely, it's like creating all these layers of ego. That I am this has happened to me, this is not right. It's all kind of in a way. But when I let it go, everything, then I allow for God's love to actually nurture the soul. Mhm. And that's what real meditation is. Mhm. Another way to look at it is, it says a lonely day is God's way of saying that He wants to spend some quality time with you. If I'm feeling this is a lonely day, it means it's the day that God wants to spend time with me. Let me spend time with God. Right? And so this invisible connectedness that we have as spiritual beings with the true self, with God, and with everyone else, that really allows us to be in, experience solitude better. There's a little story. Let's watch that story.
Peaceful monastery nestled within the mountains, there resided a wise Zen master named Hiroshi. His teachings were sought after by many, as he possessed a profound understanding of the human spirit. One day, a young student approached Hiroshi with a heavy heart, burdened by the weight of loneliness. The student said, "Master Hiroshi, I often feel an overwhelming sense of loneliness, as if I am disconnected from the world around me. How can I find solace in this solitude?" Hiroshi nodded with empathy, and led the student to a bamboo grove nearby. As they arrived, the leaves rustled in a melodious greeting, while a soft breeze whispered through the peaceful surroundings. "Observe the bamboo," Hiroshi said softly. "It stands tall and slender, seemingly isolated from its surroundings. Yet, its roots run deep, interwoven beneath the earth." The student thought deeply, as he watched the sturdy bamboo, which gracefully swayed in the wind, capturing his attention. After a moment of silence, he asked, "Master Hiroshi, how does this relate to my loneliness?" The Zen master smiled and replied, "Just as the bamboo appears separate from the world, so too can you feel isolated in your solitude. But remember, beneath the surface, you are intrinsically connected to everything around you, much like the roots of the bamboo. Loneliness arises from forgetting this interconnectedness." Hiroshi extended his hand and gently touched one of the bamboo stalks. Each bamboo in this grove relies on the support of its companions. They lean on one another, finding strength in their unity. Similarly, you have a vast network of connections in your life. Friends, family, and many others you come across in life, all contribute to your growth and well-being. The student's eyes widened, his heart gradually lightening with newfound insight. The Zen master continued, "Embrace your solitude as an opportunity for self-discovery and self-compassion. Like the bamboo, find strength within yourself, and draw upon the interconnectedness of all things. Seek solace in the present moment, recognizing that you are never truly alone." With these words, a sense of peace washed over the student's troubled mind. He realized that loneliness was not an inherent flaw, but rather a temporary state of mind, one that could be transformed through awareness and connection. From that day forward, the student approached his solitude with a renewed perspective. He spent time reflecting and getting to know himself better. He reached out to others, fostering meaningful connections, and discovering the joy of shared experiences. My friends, when the waves of loneliness crash upon your shores, remember the wisdom of Hiroshi. Remember that even in moments of solitude, you are an essential part of the grand tapestry of life. Embrace your solitude as an opportunity for growth, draw strength from your interconnectedness with all beings, and open your heart to the countless connections that await you. In doing so, you will find solace, companionship, and a profound sense of belonging in the vast tapestry of life. This is Go Beyond Motivation. Thanks.
The more I feel interconnected and realize that that's what the reality is. All of us souls in the entire world, we're all interconnected. All of us are, it's like brothers, all of us have the same home and we have come here to play our roles. So the moment I realize this, I don't feel lonely at all. Right? Another aspect that is related to loneliness, and which is very easy to actually implement, is the practice of gratitude. The more I realize that what all I have, whatever life has blessed me with, it suddenly just flushes out all those feelings of loneliness. Gratitude also then allows me to enjoy, the presence of all the souls and feel a sense of belonging and connectedness with everyone. And just like there was this all psychology about solitude and loneliness, there is this kind of a similar research about the gratitude circuit. It says there is a gratitude circuit in your brain badly in need of a workout. Strengthening that circuit brings the power to elevate your physical and mental health, boost happiness, improve sleep, and help you feel more connected to other people. So, very easy practices at the end of the day, just to write 3 things that I'm grateful for, but 3 different things. each day. And they say if you just do this practice for 21 days, your life will change. That's as simple as that. Yeah. Just to, remind the self of all the, right?
Instead of complaining,
Instead of complaining, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
you don't change anything if you're complaining.
Yeah. So actually feeling grateful is the best way to really enjoy every moment of life. That's what, yeah. Mm. 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 And that's where the more I feel grateful, the more the energy uplifts. And the more then I would also feel like just helping out, doing things for, my friends, my family, for everyone. And then suddenly the energy will shift.
Mhm.
And I won't feel lonely anymore. Yeah. Mhm. Mm. Right. So I just end with this slide. It says, when your best friend is God, you are never alone. Mhm. Best friend is God, you are never alone. Because God can be with us all the time. Other human connections, relationships can be there with us, but for some time, not all the time.
Mhm. Right.
There is only one God who will be with us all the time. And that's why in meditation, the more I explore, experiment, experience all the relationships with God. God as my father, God as my mother, God as my friend, God as my teacher, God as my companion, God as my guide. There's so many relationships, God as my child. And the more I experience all these relationships with God, then there is no room for me to feel lonely. Mhm. Mhm. And that's why it's a very good quiz in our community, Brahma Kumaris, is if someone asks, like how many children do you have? So if someone has 2 children, they'll say I have 3 children. Because the third child is God. Mhm. So to really feel that way, that actually God is physically there with me at every moment. Right? Mhm. Mhm. So when I'm walking, God is holding my hand, and when I'm driving, God is sitting on the passenger side. Like literally, it's creating that thought. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Mhm. Sha. Om Shanti. Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's take a moment and maybe we can reflect and meditate for a few minutes. As we sit comfortably, relax, we realize that as a spiritual being, I'm interconnected with all the souls in this world. And there is one, the only one, who constantly is with me, who constantly watches over me. There is this friend, the eternal friend, the divine. I realize that when I just allow myself to disconnect from the external world and in solitude, I'm able to go within and experience this deep interconnectedness with the universe inside me. I feel grateful for life, for every person, every soul in my life. And I feel life is a beautiful experience to be enjoyed every moment. In solitude, I experience God as my best friend. I experience the presence of God in everything that I do. Om Shanti. Thank you so much for your time and presence. So maybe we'll just open up and see if anyone would like to share any thoughts. We have some friends here. We have Dave who has joined us after a long time. So welcome, Dave. You wanna maybe share something, Dave?
Well, what you talking about thoughts? See, first you have a thought, and then it turns into an emotion. But that space, when it turns into emotion, that's when you gotta like choose the emotion. And but we always go automatically into the emotion too fast. That little space, you go, wait a minute, no, I'm not sad, I'm happy. You know, the emotion, so you choose your emotions, but people don't realize you gotta just pause. So the thought turns into emotion, you got that little gap that you wanna slow down and not feel lonely. Loneliness is another emotion, yeah. So turn it, instead of choose solitude, you know, that thought, you know, you go paradigm shift. Yeah. That's the word. Yeah. And in emotion, of course, you do stupid actions. You know, if you have bad emotions, same with good emotions, you do good things. Yeah. So it's all up here.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, sure.
I think the slide was really good. Those examples, I know someone who was looking for a lot of attention, and I wasn't sure the person was feeling lonely, but today's topic sort of gave me some insight. Probably that's what the person is going through. And but yeah, I mean, I took some notes and pictures to see during my conversation I can speak, but I myself, I think, you know, but just reflecting, and I'm pretty comfortable being alone, with myself. But there are moments, you know, the individuals you have a relationship with, suddenly they disappear. It creates that emptiness. So I think I need to practice more solitude. Yeah. But yeah, it was a great topic and great some insights you shared today. It's helpful to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shanti. I think I need to work on enjoying my own company. And it's really interesting the parts of the brain that get activated, and what you shared in terms of how easy it is to shift to the solitude, to bring that energy into play. So that's something I'll take away and focus on. But a very interesting class. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to share from online?
Thank you, Sarabhai. Very beautiful class as usual. And I like the conclusion the best. When you make your best friend God, then you're never alone. Best friend is God, then you're never alone. And if at all, you do feel lonely, then that means that's the time God wants to spend some more quality time with you. So beautiful. But keeping these two in mind, thank you for a beautiful class. Om Shanti.
Oh, Shanti Bhai, living especially in US, away from India, I think each and every one of us deal with this issue of loneliness, staying away from family, home, especially when you're sick, when there's no one around, and there, like, you have the whole family around. But I agree with you, Baba is there to take care of us, but still it is very, very difficult, especially staying so far away from home at times.
True. I agree. Yes. Right. Right. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Great. Any other thoughts? Okay. So thank you for your time and have a great rest of the day.
Appreciate it.
Om Shanti. Thank you.